the room you're taking over and the opportunity ahead of you?
No, I think it's a really good room. I think you think about the guys and what they were able to do this past season. With how they ran the ball, then you get a chance to watch the film. Some of the stuff they were able to do from a protection standpoint, some of the veteran leadership with a guy like Deshaun Fenwick, and then obviously, watching Damian Martinez come in on at the end of the season, and then you have complementary guys from the past year with Trey Lowe and Jam Griffin. It's really exciting to kind of get these guys going. The other guy I forgot, he had a couple big carries in the Oregon game was Isaiah Newell. So you think about this group and, the reps that they have. Now, the one thing everybody says, well, I want the ball more. But when you have young guys and they're able to get out there and get out there on the football field, you are able to build quality depth.
Make your transition to Oregon State a little easier when you inherit guys like Damian Martinez and veterans like Fenwick and Lowe?
Oh, yeah. Definitely it's always good to come into a place where you feel like there's some good pieces that are in place. And, hopefully you can just come in and continue to build on the culture that Coach Smith and the rest of the coaching staff has created, and the rest of the support staff as well.
What was that conversation when Jonathan called you? How long did it take you to decide?
That's a good question. I think, obviously it's not just cut and dry, that you're coming to Oregon State because it's the Pac-12 or anything like that. I just think, obviously for me, getting the opportunity to work with Coach Smith again and, knowing some of the stuff that they were able to do here at Oregon State this past season and seeing the culture that was built, because this didn't just start last season. This started, when Coach Smith got here, I think it was, 2017. And at that time, I was at the University of Washington, and I've seen this team and this program get better year after year. And it's really that staff and the coaches. So understanding that there was something being built as far as a foundation. Obviously, for me, I was at a great place in Boise State, a place that I care about a lot. So how easy was it? It was not an easy call, but at the end of the day, just praying on it and making sure I was putting, both programs in the best situation, and that was what it came down to. And I'm just happy to be here and be a part of Oregon State.
When you look at film of last year, Damian, and what you've seen the last couple of weeks, what's the next step for him as he moves on after a successful freshman season?
I just think it's, just football knowledge, man, that FBI. I think he's still a kid that still needs to practice. He still needs to get in the scrimmages and do some of those things. I think the hard part in today's age of college football, a kid has success and you put a lot of pressure on him. He was in high school a year ago, whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? And, obviously he played, tough at the end of the season, but just his football intelligence when it comes to protection, his technique, his fundamentals, just understanding the game and, situational football, all that stuff is what you want to build, so he has a really good menu of things he can draw from when it's time to get into the season.
Having this competitive of a room, what's sort of your philosophy on rotating them in and out?
You talking about during the season?
Yeah.
I haven't even got to that point yet. I'm just, really just trying to continue to build, like I said, that dependable depth. I spoke of the names, and all of those names were able to contribute over the course of the season. And that's really what I'm trying to focus on, getting these guys banked reps in this offense. And, if Trey was a guy that, caught a lot of passes, did things on third down, now during spring ball and fall camp, get him a little bit more stuff where he's doing stuff on the mix down stuff and vice versa, so we can depend, so you can kind of plug and play guys. Overall philosophy when it comes to having multiple guys in a room is, you do want to make sure you keep guys healthy. I think one thing everybody thinks about is I want to be the guy, but guys get tired. You want guys to hold on to the ball. You want guys to stay healthy. You want to wear defenses down. So to have the depth that we have and the bodies that we have and the experience that we have is really fun.
How does your experience, you mentioned your time at Washington, obviously had a deep backfield with a lot of guys who you would give touches at times. How does that kind of give you kind of the experience heading into this backfield?
Yeah, obviously, being able to have the experience of, being able to rotate guys through, you kind of have a good idea of what it looks like. But, that was Washington, this is Oregon State. So with that being said, that's, like I said before, I got to figure out how I can build and get my feelers and my feet underneath me through spring ball and fall camp to get a better feel. But I know what it looks like as far as putting together kind of a plan once we get to that point.
Back to your decision to take this job, how much did your experience coaching with Jonathan at other stops factor into maybe your
your draw to take this position?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that that was probably, that's probably number one on the list. Just knowing the type of coach that he is, the type of person he is when it comes to players, and seeing what he's been able to do and working with them. Obviously, if you have experience with somebody working, that always makes that transition a lot easier.
Not your room, but what have you seen out of DJ so far in camp?
I think it's so hard. It's so early. I think, he's another kid, man, that, is coming from a great program in Clemson, and wanted to join here to, get a change of scenery. And, he's been here just as long as me, it seems like, at this point, and he's in practice 5. I'm messing up in practice 5 just like, a lot of these young guys are. And, it's one of those things where, everybody expects these volumes of change by a kid or a coach or a player. And, it's a progress. There's one thing, obviously me and Jonathan worked with Coach Peterson for a long time. There's one thing you can never substitute in this game, and that's time. And it takes time to build. It takes time to get guys ready. It takes time to, to do all those things. And, obviously over the past 5 years, the time has been well spent with what Oregon State has been able to do.
Last year, you were on the opponent's sideline.
Yep.
So you got a good look at this defense. When you come over to this sideline, do they ask you like what that looks like from the opponent point of view, or do they talk about that any?
No, not really. I mean, obviously Coach Bray and the defensive coaches do a really good job. Tough, physical, hard-nosed defense that tackles well, works to create turnovers, works to create confusion, stop the run, stop explosives. They're a good defense.